All right, looks like we're ready to roll. So I'm going to officially welcome you in. 10 a.m. Wednesday morning. Bonjour tout le monde. Bienvenue. Welcome online. Welcome in person to Concordia's fourth space. Thank you so much for joining us for Research That Matters, Sustainability, Biodiversity, and Justice in a Time of Ecological Crisis, day 3 of this full week of activities. This morning, we are joined by a team of students, sustainability ambassadors, as they discuss native pollinators and plants and share their upcoming plans for the Loyola campus. Exciting stuff. So thanks so much for being here. Now, I will just say that this is a workshop. And so if you're joining us in person, we hope that you will actively participate in the activities that have been set out for you. And if you're joining us online, we hope that you can participate as well. So I think we'll invite you to, turn on your camera and hop into the conversation and participate that way if you feel like you are able to do so. I'll just let you know as we get started that we are streaming to YouTube from Fourth Space. Fourth Space is located on unceded Indigenous lands here in Tiohtià:ke, Montreal. And I will now, I think, pass it over to Jim Grant to say further a few words of welcome before we pass it on to today's facilitators. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Anna. Thank you for the introduction, and thanks to Fourth Space, as usual, our partner in crime for our annual meetings that have been so successful over the years. So thank you to Anna and Fourth Space. Anna, you did a fantastic introduction. Thanks. Thank you for that territorial acknowledgement. Much of our research in sustainability is about land and place, and so it's really relevant today. Now, for those, most of us here are from Montreal, Tiohtià:ke, but if you're tuning in on Zoom from some other place, I encourage you to check out the land that you're situated on. So, myth busting about pollinators. Let me just, they're going to introduce themselves, these really bright young undergraduate students. The Sustainability Ambassadors Program is a really unique thing about Concordia. A small group of undergraduates learn leadership skills in sustainability and do lots of things on their own for no credit other than just to learn. So they're the brightest and best we have at this university with regards to sustainability. So I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you so much, Professor Green. That was a great welcome. So we're going to start. I'm going to share my screen right now, and we're going to get everyone to look at to scan the QR code, and we're going to start with a little pre-quiz. This is just to get a feel for what everyone knows so far about pollinators, and we hope you enjoy it.
So yeah, if you can't scan the QR code, there's also the game pin on the screen, which is another way to join. Because my phone, for some reason, doesn't scan QR codes, so if you are also afflicted with this inexplicable problem, there's another way.
It is also possible that okay, it is this one. I'm so sorry. You can join in this game pin.
There's like little avatars now.
There's what?
I don't think I've done Kahoot since high school.
All right, we're just gonna wait a few, like maybe 30 seconds,
yeah,
to see if everyone can join.
So we've still got people joining the Zoom. Oh. And so I'll just say for those of you who joined us a little bit late, we invite you to do this very initial pre-quiz here by logging in to this site and sharing your ideas. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. I think we have everybody. Let's start. Yes, with your phone, you can. I have a phone, but I don't have a. If you'd like to share it with someone in the crowd, that's totally okay as well. Yes. All right, we have someone come up on the leaderboard. Oh, someone's got a streak. Good for you, Ari.
All right, thank you so much for joining our quiz. Yay.
Well done, everybody. For those of you who are in person, we have some treats for you. Those of you who are online, don't hesitate to send us an email and we can get those to you as well.
We will bake you cookies.
All right, well played, everyone. Let's go back to our presentation. All right. All right, so welcome to Pollinator Mythbusting 101. This is a workshop given to you by Pollen Power. We are a group of 6 people, all in part of Sustainability Ambassador Program.
Anna did a great job by giving a land acknowledgement. I'm just going to add on a few things. We would like to mention that many of the plants and insects we discussed today have been protected by Indigenous peoples who have a significant amount of knowledge of the ecosystems on this urban island. Our purpose, while educating our Concordia community of a thriving environment for native pollinators, is to decolonize our perspectives of the ecosystems. We cannot fully address the importance of native pollinators without crediting those who have protected and cared for the fauna and flora for millennia.
Thank you, Candy. For those of you who just came in, Kat's gonna pass around some slides for you. There's just some people in the back, Kat. Thank you. All right. So I look into.
Yeah, so for today, we're just going to give you a really quick overview of some stuff that, like the rough outline of what we're going to do. So the pre-quiz we've already had. Sorry if you missed that, it was fun. The introduction, so we're going to talk about briefly what our project is, who we are, and yeah, introduce ourselves. The learning part of it is hopefully the part that you'll take away from today. And we'll be talking about myth busting and pollinator surveying that we're going to do. And lastly, we'll have a post quiz, which will hopefully test a little bit what you learned. And also we will be talking about how you can come to Loyola and volunteer if you would like to help us with our surveying for native pollinators.
All right, so by the end of today's session, you'll be able to identify common native plants, common native pollinators, explain the importance of native pollinators, and understand how you can survey the gardens and what benefits that will have for the Concordia community. So a little bit about us. As we said, we are 6 students, all from different disciplines here at Concordia, but we are joined through the Sustainability Ambassador Program. I'm Maria, and I'm a major in Management Studies.
I'm Louise. I'm in the Joint Specialization English and History.
My name is Cami, and I'm part of the Human Environment Program at Concordia.
And we have some people also in the sciences. We have some Irish studies students, a little bit of everything. And Joseph, who is not present at the moment, he's an anthropology student. So, to give a little bit of background as to how our project started and what our original plan was, we started our project back in the fall with the idea of building wooden houses called bee houses to allow native bees to nest and increase pollination in nearby gardens. We devised a plan to solely use wood from the Center of Creative Reuse to maintain a sustainable building process. However, after more research and advice from Concordia biology professor Emma Duplan, a true expert on bees, we were advised against building these structures. We learned that if not well maintained, bee houses can promote diseases such as parasitic wasps, attract unintended insects, and house other parasitic creatures as well, which can be harmful to the bees. If you have a biodiverse garden, your pollinators will nest there. Gardens act as natural shelters for pollinators. So this includes leaving leaf litter, so not raking your gardens, just leaving the leaves to lay there throughout the winter and fall. Leaving dead wood. A lot of bees nest with wood, such as carpenter bees, and bare soil. Some like to burrow, and bare soil allows bees to have their habitat there. So, yeah.
Yeah, so this slide is just to provide you with a little bit of background and context for the conversation that we're going to be having. So a very brief overview of non-native pollinators in this area. As many of you probably know, the area of much of Quebec and the area of Montreal was colonized by European settlers mainly in the 17th century. And some of them brought bees along with them, mainly honeybees, in order to help them with in order to provide them with honey and help them with their crops. And what they didn't know was that this was going to have far-reaching consequences on the native ecosystem, because to this day, honeybees, while they are also good for pollination for agriculture and pollination of natural plants, they do compete with native bees who have been in this area far longer for resources. And most of the time, these native bees are more threatened than honeybees are, even though honeybees are disproportionately given attention by the media. And many people are unaware that there even is such a thing as a native bee, and that honeybees do not originate here. And that is partially why we are running this workshop, because there have been studies that have shown that most of the population of North America do not know the importance of protecting native bees specifically. And yeah, so we'll be moving on to some definitions that we may be using throughout the presentation that you probably are somewhat familiar with. So the first one is an ecosystem, which is a biological community of interacting organisms and the physical environment that they interact in and with. And a native plant or animal is an animal or plant which is indigenous to a place. So it has been there essentially forever. And non-native is like the opposite of that. So it is an animal or a plant which is not indigenous to a particular place, which was artificially brought there by humans. And so that is not the same as an invasive animal, because an invasive animal is a non-native animal which significantly modifies or disrupts the ecosystem which it has been introduced in. So non-native does not necessarily mean harmful, but non-native animals or plants can become harmful to the environment that they're introduced in. And lastly, naturalized. A plant or animal which has been naturalized is one which has been introduced to a place, so it didn't originally come from there, but it's been there for so long, it's been so well established that it's essentially integrated into the ecosystem. So it's not doing any harm, it's just integrated there now. So yeah.
It's also important to note that when we talk about a long time, we tend to think of long time in terms of the human lifespan, so approximately 100 years. We're talking about a long time in terms of how long the Earth has been here and how long the animals have been here, which is a much, much longer time. We're talking centuries and far beyond. Great. So our project.
So our project we are about to introduce is basically just identifying plants and pollinators, especially native ones, that you can see in Montreal and hopefully at Loyola Gardens be identified as well.
Yeah, most of these are, or all of these, sorry, are native to Montreal. They can be identified reasonably easily. It's also important to know that there are many, many more pollinators out there in Quebec, but some of these would require even being looked at under a microscope in order to differentiate them. You will also see on some of them that we put SPP. That's for that specific reason. For example, there are over 40 species of bumblebees in Quebec. We talk about the bumblebee in general and offer characteristics for these, but you will see them differ probably if you spend some time at the gardens. So there are different species of bumblebees that you can see. Perfect. Moving on. So the first 3 bees that we're going to be learning to identify today, there's 9 in total, are the minor bee, also known as Andrena. So these are really small bees. We're talking 6 to 7 millimeters. They have their head and their thorax is black, and you'll see their abdomen is brown with yellowish spots or lines, and they can be confused with wasps. A way to identify them to not confuse them with wasps is that you'll see that their hind legs, it's very easy to spot in this picture, they are specialized to carry pollen. Their abdomen is flat, unlike wasps, which tend to have a rounder abdomen. It's also interesting to know that all species of Andrena feed their larvae with aster, bee balm, goldenrod, and sunflower. This shows the importance of having native plants in the same area as you want native species, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to survive in an area. Next, we're moving on to the bumblebee. So these are medium to large bees, 10 to 20 millimeters. Most of you will probably know them. They're very common around here, and they're known for being very hairy as well. They have black and yellow patterns, all of them, but these will differ depending on what species. So some have only at the front, some have lines all around. It depends, but they all tend to be in that 10 to 20 millimeter range of size. And then they're also generalists, which is really good for the environment. That means that they're not picky when it comes to what plants they pollinate. So they actually, as well as honeybees, these sometimes tend to be exploited in agriculture. But honeybees, being so similar to bumblebees, tend to pass disease onto bumblebees. So that's why it's not another reason why the exploitation of honeybees isn't ideal. Finally, we are looking at the digger bee. So these are quite similar in appearance to the bumblebee. They're also quite large, 10 to 17 millimeters. Their difference is that they have a black abdomen, and sometimes they will have a band of very pale hairs. At the top, you'll see the yellow hairs in the thorax and the head. And a way to identify male and female digger bees is by looking at their lower face. If it's black, they are males, and if it's yellow, they are females. These are also generalist bees, which is great. A way to identify them is while they're flying, they'll be really noisy and really fast. Another way to identify them is if it's ever a cool day and it's quite rainy, they will be some of the only pollinators out in the gardens. They don't mind rainy weather, unlike most other pollinators.
All right, next we have carpenter bees. They are relatively large bees that are often mistaken for bumblebees. As you can see, they're similar in size, similar in color. A key difference is that they have a shiny black abdomen with yellow thorax, and their bumblebee counterparts have furry abdomens. So that's a very key difference between them. Another defining characteristic is their metallic look. So their wings, they kind of have like a metallic look to them when they're shown at light, and their thorax and their black abdomen as well is shiny. They do not live in colonies, but instead tunnel into wood with their mandibles to lay their eggs. They prefer to excavate holes into untreated wood, such as redwood, cedar, and pine. They're also very effective pollinators and pollinate many species. They suffocate dry pollen grains out of flower anthers, a process known as buzz pollination. It's good, and their pollination is good for eggplants, tomatoes, and other vegetables if you have a vegetable garden. The green sweat bee is a bee that I think would be the most unique out of all of the bees that we show today, just because of their defining characteristics. It is a small to medium-sized bee, and these guys range between 0.3 to 1.3 centimeters in length, so they're very, very small. They have a different coloring compared to the other bees mentioned, as their metallic green head is their most defining trait. They are ground nesting bees and often drawn to smaller flowering plants, which makes them really awesome pollinators, as other pollinators might overlook the smaller flowers as they're attracted to like bigger, more flashy flowers. So yeah. Next we have the monarch butterfly. I believe this butterfly would be the most iconic pollinator out of our list, as they are very well known and they are also endangered. They are most well defined by their black and orange coloration, and you can also notice the white spots along the edge of their wings, which is very defining of them. A fun fact about monarchs is that they exclusively lay their eggs on milkweed, which is a native plant on our list, and they are known for their migration north and south of the continental US. And because Quebec borders the US, it's a very in proximity to the region, and that's why they're native to Quebec as well.
Okay, so apologies to any Latin fans in the room. I forgot to add the Latin subtitles, but the main ones that we'll be talking about them by are their English names. So yeah, first up for me is the swallowtail, which is named for its characteristic tail-like extensions on its hind wings, which you should be able to see right there at the bottom, the little black sticky out bits. That's essentially what we're talking about. And the identifying by their coloration is a bit difficult because they may have yellow, orange, red, green, or blue markings on an iridescent black, blue, or green background. And yeah, but they're generally, most of the images that I've seen, they have yellowish and black main colors, and they're quite pointy as opposed to the cabbage butterfly, which you can see here, which is much smaller and much rounder in shape. And the cabbage butterfly is very small. Its wingspan is only between like 32 to 47 millimeters. And it's got the most identifying trait is these two little dots. There can also be two pairs of dots that they have on their white wings, which may be difficult to spot when they're flying because they have a rapid and erratic flight pattern. And if you have the opportunity to look at them very closely, you can see that they have also really tiny little speckles, which can cluster around the tops of their front wings, which you can kind of see on this photo, and they also go all the way around their wings. So yeah, cabbage butterfly, very cute. It likes cabbages, it lays its eggs there. And the spring azure is my last butterfly. It is a very pretty one. It's mostly blue or purple black in color, and it has thin dark and white borders along its wings. So you can see it kind of looks like the butterfly has outlined itself in white, and it's got a very thin black line between the blue and the white parts. And if you have the opportunity to look at it very closely, it has checkered hind wing fringes, which is very fashionable of it. And yeah, I'm a fan of the spring azure. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Louise. We will also be passing some books that Professor Emma Deplan loaned to us, and that's where we've got a lot of our information. They're in French, so any non-French speakers, we had to do our bit too. So I can pass those along as you can read the disclaimer for our next.
So just a little disclaimer. We're talking about, as Maria mentioned before, the general, common pollinators and plants, and we're not going into detail about each species because it would be impossible to do that to perfection. And it would be hard to put that expectation on anyone else who is not a botanist or an ecologist. So and as well, we talk about some non-native plants and naturalized plants, and we want to reinforce that they can still benefit the existing ecosystem on the land, and that is depending on how acclimated they are to the area. So just because they're non-native does not equate that they're bad, like you mentioned before.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll start with our first three plants. Some of these you'll know, some you won't. So we have blueberries on top of our list. You see them every day at your supermarket. They're native to Montreal, which is great, and to Eastern Canada. So they grow in deciduous shrubs, deciduous meaning that they shed their leaves annually, so usually in the winter. These produce berries in the summer, so that's the sweet berries that we love to eat. A way to identify them if there aren't any berries present is that they're dark green leaves and they have yellow accents on the veins. And if you ever want to grow blueberries in your backyard, you have to make sure you use acidic soil, as it is the only way that these blueberries will grow. Next up, we have violets. Violets are grown at the Loyola garden. They actually appear naturally. No one seems to be growing them. They just kind of pop up around the campus, which is quite nice. A way to identify them is that they have 5 petals, 3 in the bottom, 2 in the top. There's a very similar plant to them, and the one identifying characteristic is that one only has 4 petals, so that's a way to tell them apart. Also, by the leaves, they are heart-shaped and they have rounded teeth on the margins. You can see it a little bit on the side there. And they come in a variety of colors, although they're called violets, but you can see them in white and different shades. Finally, we have the Quaker ladies. This was a new plant that we didn't know until we started doing this research. They're very delicate and very small flowers, but they thrive on shady slopes and when surrounded by other low competition plants. By low competition, it means some plants, or a very good example, I guess, that we have lots of at the Loyola Gardens is the Norway maple. So gardeners will often tell you that it is very hard to plant anything under a Norway maple. That's because it is a higher competition tree. So Quaker ladies, for example, would not do well under those conditions.
Oh, okay, perfect. Now I'm just going to talk about a few other plants. The first one, the name made me laugh because I was like, false sunflowers. It's on point because true sunflowers don't look like that. They're a lot bigger, but aesthetically, they're kind of similar. They have daisy-like petals, so a lot thinner, but they're also yellow. So I think that was very cool. They are 50 to 150 centimeters tall, and they have green to reddish hairy stems. And their nectar, again, attracts a very high variety of pollinators. So a lot of pollinators like these sunflowers, or false sunflowers, as I should say. They even tricked me, yeah. Next, we have the wild bergamot. It's a perennial flower with pink or lavender flowers. It attracts bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds the most. And its height ranges between 60 to 150 centimeters at maturity. And it tolerates a wide range for soil, so which is ideal for any garden. If you're not sure what kind of soil you have, they're most likely going to be able to grow in that area. And my personal favorite is the milkweed. I love the milkweed. Like I mentioned before, milkweed is vital to monarch butterflies' reproduction process. And there are 3 types native in the region that are swamp milkweed, common milkweed, and butterfly milkweed. Some defining characteristics for milkweeds are there are 5 petals on each pod, I guess the word is. And the milkweed pods are light and fluffy when there's like seeds, and they secrete a milky sap, which is very interesting. If you look very closely, they could have like sap at the edge. And they're usually 60 to 200 centimeters tall, which is pretty cool.
All right, so my slide here has a nice purple theme, which I'm very satisfied about. And we're going to start with the New England aster, which is a plant native to this area in North America, which is not surprising considering its name, New England aster. It's kind of from this, I mean, New England is in the US, but in this general area. And yeah, if you want to plant it, which I would encourage you to do because it's very pretty, it looks like a kind of purpley daisy. You can plant it from spring to early fall, and which is quite a large range, which is useful if you're forgetful about very specific planting times, like I sometimes am. And if you select a growing site that receives full sun and has rich soil, the care should be very minimal. It's not the kind of plant that's super sensitive and will die if anything happens to it. It can look after itself pretty well. And next up, chives. I had chives in my backyard as a child that I would just go and eat, so I'm fond of chives. And their flowers are also very pretty. They thrive in well-drained soil, which is rich in organic matter, and full sun. So they appreciate it if you chuck a bit of compost on them once in a while. And they can be grown from seed, and they mature in the summer or early the following spring after you plant them. So they're pretty fast growers, these guys. And lastly, kale. Everyone's heard of kale. It's very healthy, it's very good for you. So if you want to plant something that is also useful for your own use, kale is a good one. And it's not native, but it's naturalized, so it's not harmful to the environment here. And it's an annual plant which is grown from seed as well. And it's hardy and thrives in wintertime, which is useful if you're growing things in Montreal because this winter can be a doozy. And it survives in temperatures as low as -15 degrees. So I know that it does get colder here, so winter may still kill your kale. But if anything's gonna survive, kale will. So yeah.
All right, thanks, Louise. Before we move on to our activity, does anyone have any questions about our native plants or pollinators? Awesome. Now we're going to test your knowledge.
A test.
As you may have noticed, as you walked in, Kat gave you probably a little piece of paper with a magnet in the back. So if you have it and you know what name it belongs to, please stand up and put it on its rightful spot.
Even if you don't know and you just guess, this is not for a grade, so incredibly low stakes. We won't even judge you at all because we know you just learned this like 2 minutes ago. So yeah.
And for those of you on Zoom, if you'd like, I can show one up to you and you can tell me where it goes. Let me know. Or you can write it on the chat and I'll take a look.
Yes.
Oh no. Oh, don't worry, we can hold it. Technical, but perfect. There we go. Thanks, man. Thank you. Oh, Cabby has one.
Where is she? Wait.
Uh-oh.
Oh, okay. Good.
So what Cabby's doing, we had a spring azure butterfly, but that
This
one's
guy.
actually the cabbage butterfly. So he's just putting it in its
The
spot.
speckles at the top.
Oh, there we go. Thank you so much. So that was actually the digger bee, but good try. Thank you for changing it for the sweat bee. So the big characteristic of the sweat bee was that it is mostly green. The digger bee has some pale hairs on the thorax, and it's yellowish hairs on top are our main character. Oh, we have a question.
Yes.
Yes, so we're gonna be talking about that in the next slide. Thank you.
I don't know how to exit out of it.
Exit out of.
Yeah, because it's not on. Do I have to stop?
There's someone. No, there's someone. Did you?
I clicked
put it
it,
up.
yeah.
There we go.
Oh, no, okay, and then just click that. Oh,
Okay,
I think we have to start sharing.
Okay, we're currently trying to figure out how to move the chat. Oh, there we go.
How do we?
feel free to close it if whoever is. Oh yes, perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
So it was never in our control at all. That's why we didn't know what to do. So.
Oh, thanks, Gabby. All right, so we're gonna move on. Thanks so much for the activity. Does anyone have any questions? Did you find yourself doubting any bees? We can hopefully answer any questions you have for you. But it was mostly a pretty good job.
Yeah, you did great.
Yes, did you have? Oh, sorry. All right, let's move on. So if you happen to want a complete guide, feel free to scan this QR code. Eva very nicely made it for us. It looks great. If you ever happen to be around Loyola surveying, we'll talk about that soon, but you can see and you don't know what bee you're looking at, feel free to download the guide and you can use that as a resource. All right. So now we're going to talk about fixing some frequent misconceptions on pollinators in general. So pollinators hardly ever sting. Less than half of the bees in the world are actually capable of stinging, and half of those, only the females have a stinger. So that should ease your nerves about being around bees. It is true that some people are very allergic to them, but if you happen to be in Canada, our solitary native bees are very gentle in nature. Since they are not sociable, they don't tend to have any like hive protection or anything at all. You can actually even pick them up. They will very likely just fly away. They're mostly focused on pollinating flowers and getting their nectar.
Yeah, and to move on from that, or to add on to that, they do not all live in hives, which is not the same. We can't say the same for honeybees. who do live in hives and have a worker bee and like a queen bee and all that. When resources are plentiful and for their nests, they do not need to live with other bees. However, if resources are scarce, they will, form small groups and be sometimes social, but they're mainly solitary. But bumblebees are the exception, as they do live in small colonies, which is cute. They have a little group to hang out with. They're buddies.
All right, so lastly, bees do not all produce honey. I think we've been talking about a bit that many of the native bees here are solitary, and if you don't live in a hive, you can't have honey, which is produced in hives. So yeah, this is unfortunate for capitalists, and I did write that kind of as a joke, but also it has serious consequences because many sustainability initiatives nowadays in our world are basically, they're funded by obviously organizations that make money, and these organizations want to continue making money, and capitalism generally has this view of nature that it owes us something just for letting it continue to exist, and if it doesn't produce anything for us, it's not as worthy of protecting. And obviously we very much disagree, and so yeah, that's partially why we wanted to do this presentation on native bees, to raise more awareness about them, because yeah, people think of bees as these creatures that produce honey for us and that pollinate our crops for us, but even the bees that don't do that deserve our attention and our protection, even when they give us nothing in return, because they do not in fact owe us anything for letting them exist, because they were here before us and they will, if we destroy them, that seems a bit, ungrateful for yeah, for the planet that we live on. So
Very well said. All right, so this takes us to our second main goal of our project. So counting the bees on campus, or surveying. So we really something that we learned in our ambassador program is the importance of metrics. So this is kind of why we have done the pre and post quiz, just to see how a sample of the Concordia community, what they know on bees. We also really want to know the amount of bees on campus and whether the site that they are found on has a general effect on what is being planted near that site. So bees don't tend to move very far distances. So around the Loyola campus, we can set approximately 10 sites, and this will provide us with metrics and convincing data to then put forward either plans to plant more native crops on campus, or just more native flowers, and just leaves niche spaces for them to have spaces. So ideally, grass isn't always ideal for some of the bees we've talked about. So if we can leaf litter on the ground and other things like that, it would do great for them. And we can use the data that we collect to persuade whoever is in charge of all that stuff.
And to talk more into detail what the iNaturalist project is, there's an event called the BioBlitz, and it is a volunteer-based search for a species, plant or animal in a small area at a certain short amount of time that people from all walks of life, scientists, people walking down the street, anyone, amateur bug enthusiasts, anyone, they can use the app to scan or take a picture of a species of plants or an insect or animal, and it'll identify what that plant or animal is to the best of their ability through a database. So that's what we're trying to launch and try to, have this app used by Concordia students, staff, community, and hopefully engage people into looking into our gardens, looking into the pollinators that surround us, and
Yes, through the project that we have created, It's due to start 2 weeks from today approximately. We can talk more about that in a little bit. But basically, we have selected the Loyola campus as an area, and anything anyone takes a photo of using the iNaturalist app will automatically be identified if it's a pollinator and be sent to our project to be stored. So it's pretty neat the way it works. It's an open source app and it's full of enthusiastic people. It's a very nice app, in my opinion. All right.
So yeah, I mean, in our group, there's 6 of us, which is great. But it is not enough to do this project by ourselves because, as we said, we have 10 sites, 6 people, doesn't work. So yeah, we need your help for this. And basically, we will provide you with a link that you can use to sign up. And you can come find us next to the Concordia Pollinator Initiative Garden. Like Maria said, in about 2 weeks, we'll post information about that. And yeah, so you can download iNaturalist in advance, grab yourself a quadrant that we've lovingly made at Sucker, and you can sample this quadrant for 15 minutes. So basically watch what flies in and out of it. Yeah, note that down and send it on to us, which we would super appreciate. And after that, we will get you some native flower seeds that you can plant in your garden, or if you don't have a garden, you can plant it on your balcony. If you don't have a balcony, you can chuck it by the side of the road and hope that it grows. And yeah, so we would love it if you showed up. Thank you.
Just to explain a little bit more what a quadrat is for those who might not know. So quadrats are usually used in field work. We got the idea of a quadrat through Emma Deplan. She shared some of her research with us, and we saw that when she was doing field work on native pollinators as well, she was using a 30 by 30 centimeter quadrat to just focus on everything that is in that area for a certain amount of time. It was also 15 minutes that they used, which we also took from their paper. And basically it gives you a somewhat accurate representation of what the average amount of species in that area is. It's quite neat. And yeah. All right. So we're almost done. We have 10 minutes left of our presentation today. So if you would like to go on the Kahoot again, we're going to do our post quiz. Oh, there is a question. How do we sample the quadrant? Yeah, awesome question. So the quadrant, you just place it on the ground in the site. Once the event happens, we have a sampling guide as well. But basically, you put it on the ground and you only focus on everything that comes in and out of that quadrat. And then with iNaturalist on your phone, you try and take a photo of what there is, and that gets sent directly to us to then examine and count for. I hope that answers your question, Sam.
Yeah.
No worries. Okay, let me go.
Or stop share.
Yes, stop sharing. There we go. And I'm going to go to Google. And now I'm going to share again.
Okay, sweet.
Okie doke. So I see that there are lots of you. That's great. We're going to give it a couple more seconds, and then we'll start.
Also, I have personally not done a Kahoot since high school, which was like a year and a half ago, and I can't believe that it's like so advanced now. Like they have avatars and everything.
The
it's
avatars.
Like truly the Kahoot evolution is going faster than I can comprehend. It's nice though.
And just to make sure that the winners, did Kat give you your treat? Great. Amazing.
We're all winners.
All right, we're gonna get started. Is anyone in person not signed up yet? Perfect, thank you so much. All right, we're gonna start. Would it be easier for me to read out the questions? Is everyone okay to read them, or? Yeah, sure, we can take turns to read them out. Perfect.
We'll go down the line.
Awesome. All right, it's gonna start. Yes, which new conception about bees were you most surprised by?
Oh. We meant to say misconception, by the way.
All right, thank you. Oh, good job, Bandai. You're first.
Okay, so which bee species is not native to the Quebec region? Miner bees, digger bees, bumblebees, or honeybees?
I wonder.
Also, this bee has done great at pollinating. Look at him go. He's carrying so much.
I'm so proud of him.
A day after buzzing around the Loyola gardens. Get you like that. Oh, yay. Oh, whoever clicked bumblebees, you're incorrect. Oh, Banda might have clicked bumblebees. Then Christian's up on the lead. All right. Good job, Christian.
Are you more likely to plant native pollinator-friendly plants now?
Yes.
Yes.
That's a correct answer.
I don't know yet, or I don't have anywhere to garden.
No is not an answer.
No is not an answer. We are not giving you the choice.
Oops.
Yay.
Amazing.
Yay. Awesome.
Yay.
That's so fun.
There's also some great resources for indoor planting. I can tell you all about it after the presentation if you're interested. Alrighty. True or false? Most native bees are solitary.
Oh. It's trying its best.
Those are honeybees. True. Good job, everyone.
Good job.
For the exception of bumblebees, most of them, when resources are available, tend to be solitary. They also tend to be ground nesting, which is quite interesting. Oh, Mac is on the lead.
All right, so would you be interested in volunteering to the Concordia Pollinators Initiative Garden? Scan this QR code to sign up. I just had enough time to say that. Okay.
We're also going to post that QR code on our presentation, so don't feel in a rush to scan this right away.
Yep.
But it will basically take you to a service which has been recently introduced by Meredith, and that will take you to a volunteer sign-up page. Maybe. We're
Fair
watching you.
Fair enough.
All right, leaderboard.
So Sam, well done. I believe you're in my Loic 320 class, so don't you worry, I will get you some treats. And on Wednesday.
Congrats to our winner.
And is Mac in person or are you online? Oh, I believe our online contestants have done a really good job for the post-quiz. Online learning might be the way to go. All right, thank you so much, everybody. We're gonna just finish up with some thank yous and you'll be good for today. All righty, let me unshare this screen. Stop sharing. Okay, so there we go. And we have to share. Wait, no. Yes. I'm almost there.
Take your time.
Thank you. All right, so we would like to extend some very grateful thank yous for everyone who has helped us with this project and the very start of it. We're only just beginning. So first of all, Jackie Martin, which is here in person today, as the leader of the Concordia Pollinators Initiative and the general manager of the whole Loyola campus. Thank you so much for your great knowledge on plants and bees and extending such a warm hand to us and helping us through our project.
Everyone on the line?
Yeah, as you wish.
All right.
Yeah, I can go. Good. Emma Desplan, true expert on pollinators. Thank you for your entomologic insight on bees and butterflies. I can never say that word. Meredith and Christian, who are here in the back today, thank you for guiding us through this whole process and for truly like leading a great program, like Sustainability Ambassadors Program. You should definitely sign up.
Applications are
It's
open.
awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely apply. And the Creative Center for Reuse, Sucker, thank you for helping us to think creatively. The quadrats are all made from materials from Sucker. The posters made from materials from Sucker, except for like the printed photos. I had to do that myself. But yeah, we, there was little to no waste generated while we made this presentation, and throughout our project as well, we're hoping to also just continuing to use Sucker materials. So yeah, we just want to say thank you. And to everyone else that helped us with research. It's not easy to go into this topic without feeling a bit overwhelmed by all the different species and all different information that you hear and read about. So narrowing it down was like really difficult, and I think it was a challenge, but I think we did a pretty good job. And I hope so too. And yeah, it looks all flowery and nice, but it was not easy. And so, yeah, thank you to the rest of our team members who are not up here, but who are here today and did a great job as well. So thank you.
All right. And we have a couple links. We have an Instagram page. If you would like to follow, we'll be posting updates there on volunteering, sign up, and all that stuff. We also have the link that we had on my Kahoot if you would like to volunteer. Do we have a document? No. All right. If you would also like to hear more, please either DM us your email, and we would be sure to put you in a mail list just to let you know the upcoming events with Pollinators Initiative and stuff like that, and Pollen Power, and about the BioBlitz and everything that's going on in March, because so much goes on in March.
We also have 3 minutes, so I was thinking maybe we could focus on answering questions from the Zoom or from the crowd as well.
Definitely. Let me check the Zoom.
Oh, and
Holding a microphone is fun, I promise.
I don't know if anyone knows this here, but how do like pollinators and bees communicate with each other? Because you were saying that sometimes if they really need to, they'll help each other out, even though they're solitary. So does anyone know? I'm just curious.
The information I actually know about this is about honeybees, which is a great, there is not much information out there about native bees, so I am unsure. But honeybees, when there's a lot of pollen out there and flowers, they'll actually do a little dance, and that points out coordinates to them and like the general direction of where these flowers are, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I don't really know how native bees communicate. That's definitely something that we could look into and answer one of our emails or something that we can send out on our Instagram as well. Any other questions? The microphone is coming your way.
Well, hello. Since we mentioned bumblebee, I just want to ask, is in the summer in my garden, see a lot of like exhausted bumblebees at time? Like, I could have Googled it, but while I'm here, I might as well just ask it.
Yeah.
So what do you do like when you see like exhausted like honeybees or bumblebees that's too tired to fly? I mean, mostly bumblebees.
Actually, I can answer that one. I'm pretty sure that I can anyways, what I've been doing. Anyway, so yeah, what you can do is, well, what I've done in the past is take a small like cap of a bottle or something, like a little bottle cap, and put some warm water in there and dissolve some sugar in it. Because usually these bees they need more food, they need more energy in order to be able to fly away again. And they can get that by using their little straw mouth things to drink some like, yeah, basically dissolved sugar water. So it's really easy. You just take some warm water, put some sugar in there, mix it around a bit until it's kind of dissolved, and then you can put it out sort of near the bee and yeah, try to encourage it to drink that. Not necessarily, as long as you don't, as long as the cap isn't big or deep enough that the bee can actually like drown in it, you would not want that. So if it is, then I guess be lifeguard while it drinks, but yeah, basically try to make the cap, the water like very shallow so that it can't drown.
If you have a garden, you can actually make, I'm going to say in French, abreuvoir, okay? So you can take like a ceramic plant tray, and then you could put sand or rocks, pebbles, different things. Then you put water in it, because all insects need to drink, and we don't have enough water, especially when it doesn't rain for a few weeks, so they get dehydrated. And like you said, you don't want them to drown, so you don't fill it very high, so they can crawl down and stand on a rock and drink, and you have a place to land. Like it's a flat rock, you have a place to land, and pebbles or sand, whatever you have. And keep it clean, change the water, if it gets low, add some water. They also need minerals, so sand, and if there's a little bit of earth in it, it's good because they drink minerals as well. It's not just water, they need minerals to sustain their life. So it's interesting because that's a place that they're going to come to, and you can observe the different species. Sometimes you have 3 species, a wasp, a bee, different species are drinking at the same time, which is I find very interesting. Just as a focal, like you have bird baths, you can have like a bee drinking hole, but it's but put it not maybe full sun, but maybe with something with a leaf over it, so they have a place to.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, little bee oasis.
Yeah, you can do that. No, but it's like so important because it's just we have so much hot weather sometimes, and
Exactly.
they need hot weather, but they also need a place to recharge and stuff. So
Definitely.
one thing I was mentioning, you didn't talk about, is a whole family of clovers, thistles. There's a whole bunch of families you didn't talk about of plants that are very useful and beneficial for pollinators.
100%. We mostly focused on 9 that we thought were easy to identify, but some of the books we passed around towards the end, you have tons of plants that you can look at, and yes, there are many more.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, just families.
Yeah.
And the species that sting are the wasps.
Yes, exactly.
Honeybees sting, but the wasp can sting repeatedly. So you can get an anaphylactic shock because you got so much venom in your body, and then you can have, but the only ones that actually sting repeatedly are wasps. And some species of wasps actually pollinate, so they're beneficial. So just because you see wasps doesn't mean you have to be scared of them. They're actually beneficial as well. So just know the difference between wasp and bees, so you can be a little bit more distant to the wasp.
Exactly. Yes, it can be a little bit more territorial. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming today. This was a great experience. I think I can say on behalf of all of us facilitators today. And we hope you leave today with a little bit more knowledge on native bees.
Yeah. Thank you.
I just want to thank the B team here. You're the A team, but I guess you're the B team. On behalf of Loyola Sustainability Research Center, Loyola College, thank you very much for contributing to our conference. Lots more activities happening today here in Fourth Space and down at Loyola campus as well. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
And over to Anna, I guess.
Hi, thanks so much to the folks on Zoom for joining us, and thank you to everyone in the space for being here. We are going to go ahead and close up the Zoom, stop the live stream, but if you wanted to access this information again, it is available to rewatch on YouTube as of now. So thanks so much, and we'll see you at the next event.
Thank you.